Syed, hi.
Hey.
Welcome to my channel. Quick story, we're both at Antler's cohort. Antler is a global accelerator. I spoke about it in my previous video where I shared how I got accepted. So just wanted to record this video with Syed. I'll just let you introduce yourself,
Cool.
and then we wanted to share a little bit about Syed's journeys as a founder, and he's an AI expert, so whatever we can learn on that would be awesome.
So I'm Syed. I'm the founder of Worthify.ai right now, and I'm also in the founder cohort here at Antler. So I mean, my journey starts from a long time ago. I actually came to this country from Pakistan when I was about 4 years old, and I grew up very poor. So it's pretty, you can probably understand the American dream story and stuff. But I think one thing I take away from my whole childhood as, it provides for my founder story is that like I'm a builder, and naturally I learned how to be able to be able to, have resiliency and learn how to be able to, use whatever resources I can to be sustainable and to be able to like keep myself alive with my family and whatnot. My mom and dad worked like 3 jobs, both of them each. And, watching them work hard made me want to work harder because, when you come to America, it's all about what can you do and how can you be successful. And that's how I've started to think about my life is more of like, okay, like how can I give back to the world, right? So always building. Working with like Legos as a kid and then building computers as a kid. And that got me like super into technology. And then I was like, okay, like this is probably the way I give back to humans by building something in technology and, just somehow being able to like thank the world of like why I'm here. And that's how my founder journey kind of got started from a childhood phase. I was in the military, so I got to learn a lot about leadership and a lot about like how to work with people, different types of personalities and whatnot. And then leaving the military, I was at Dartmouth, so that's where I got my technical skill as a computer scientist.
And why did you decide to go to military?
I decided to go to the military because I wanted to go to a good school, and there's a benefit in the U.S. military where they pay for your education, right? And it's a great opportunity because it's like you do 4 years of service and you get back to the country, you get to be a veteran, and the country gave me so much as a kid, like free insurance and a lot of like programs for my family and whatnot, that I was like, okay, I have to figure out some way that I can repay on behalf of my family for like what this country has provided me.
Like that.
Yeah. So that's one of the motivations, and yeah, free schooling, right? So, that was good too, especially like going to Dartmouth. Dartmouth's a great school. So it was being able to use my veteran identity to get into Dartmouth was something I never imagined I'd ever do, but it actually helped me a lot.
How did you decide to be a founder? Why startups?
So during my time at Dartmouth, I used to work at a lab where I would, it was called Dolly Lab, and I worked with product managers, designers, and developers on creating products. And pretty much the time I was there, I worked on 7 different projects that went from 0 to 1, and that got me really hooked on the startup world and understanding like, dang, we can take ideas and we can like super rapidly like build them out and test them and see if they actually work or not. And some worked and some didn't. So that was my introduction into the startup world. And then the other part of it was like the scrappiness and the pace of it is what I really like a lot. Like I work long hours right now, like every day, every weekend, but I choose to do that because it's all about solving this problem that you have or working towards for people, for yourself, for others, for your family, whatever it might be. That gives me excitement. And when I saw that while I was building a Dolly, I was like, okay, this is probably something I want to do in my future at some point.
You said solving a problem. What problem are you solving with your project?
Yeah, so my current project I'm solving is helping small businesses be able to create marketable material on their products. So we use AI to be able to generate product placement, product ads and whatnot. And then we also help distribute those ads to different networks, ad networks like Google and Facebook and whatnot. And we also do analytics on them too. So are these ads working? What's not working? How do we regenerate something that's going to work?
I like that. Okay. And then going back to your founder's journey. So why did you choose this specific problem to work on, and how is it going so far? Like, where are you at in the journey?
So let's start with why I picked the problem, and then we'll go into like how my journey's been so far. Why we picked the problem was because one, again, I go back to like, how do I give back to humankind with all the experience I've had and with all the technical training I've had? How can I be able to like solve some problem? So my thing was, okay, like we had friends and family who have small businesses, like they're struggling and it's hard for them to market because they got to run their business. How can I make their lives easier? So the whole premise of this project was like, okay, well, how do we lower the barriers of entry into marketing? Because there's so many tools out there. There's so many things that you have to do, to analyze, to look at. Can we make a tool that can help them do all of that in less time and then still be able to run their business?
Yeah, I like that. And you were gonna talk about where you at. Was your journey?
So the journey's been weird. This is my first startup. I will say like, having a startup is probably the hardest thing in the world that anybody can do, because it's constant day and night of thinking about the same problem, how you got to move, finding customers, getting revenue, investors, everything. So you got to think about everything. So we've been building for almost a year now. We have a platform out right now. It does somewhat of what we needed to do, but there's a lot of change that we have to do. And I guess through my journey, what I've learned is that like, it's easier, there's some like, I guess, tips, right? So it's easier for you to start with a problem to solve than to just build something and expect someone to use it. So I've learned that now more recently than when we started. And it's helping us get closer to our like IPC, like your initial persona that you want to target and whatnot. The other part of the journey that's been difficult is like team. So you really gotta, I think like one other thing I would say is like, you gotta pick your co-founders like and your like team very, very strategically.
How did you find yours?
Yeah, so I found mine when I was working at my last job, and he was super cool. We worked on a couple projects. He was one of the smartest dudes I knew, and I was like, all right, like we could totally work together.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
That's really awesome. Have you raised any money already? And if not, or if yes, when and how? Maybe you have some tips to share. And if not, are you going to, and what are you doing towards that?
Yeah. So we've raised a friends and family round so far, and I mean, it's been a good chunk of money. We have opportunities to raise more. I've just kind of been like kind of putting that in the backseat just because, you know, we're in Antler and I want to be able to like do this fully and focus my attention here. That said, tips on raising, I would say like, you know, look at what safe documentation is and use safes as a way for you to get friends and family in. You can have up to 35 unaccredited investors into your startup in the beginning based off of the Jobs Act. And then also based off the Jobs Act, you can't advertise that you're doing a friends and family round, but you know, the way that I've been doing is like, hey, like, you know, people tell me like, hey, I'm writing checks. I'm like, oh, hey, like, I'd love to talk at some point, and that's a good way to do it. So those are some tips early on. Other tips, I mean, apply to like accelerators like YC, to Antler especially. Antler's been amazing so far, so I've had a great time. I don't know, have you had a great time? Yep. We've had a great time. So that's another way of you showing that you're committed, that, you know, VCs like to hear that you're a part of these things. So that's a pro tip. And reach out to your friends. Like, don't be discouraged by just asking someone. Like I think humility is a way for you to show that you're committed and that like, hey, like I'm learning and growing, and it's just human.
So when you were raising family round, how did you reach out to people, and was there like a how much money would you take from a person? Like, for example, I don't have any rich friends that, you know, would give me a check for 150,000 K. I mean, 50,000. But I know that there is a platform, We Found There or something like that.
Yeah,
I forgot name.
Yeah.
So how it works, basically, I thought maybe you use something similar. People can kind of invest in you, even like $7, you know, and stuff like that. I don't know if they actually get equity back. Some of it is more like grants kind of structure, but some of them might invest more and get some of the equity. So I need to look more into that platform. But what would be like the minimum number that you took from the family?
When we did it, minimum was 5K, but you can honestly set it to whatever you want. And, people will invest 5K, people will invest more than 5K. It just depends on like who's willing to invest. What I've learned is like you'll have a list of people, maybe half will only invest and maybe a quarter of that will actually write checks. So it's not even about like, having like 50K from one investor. Like, to be honest, like a lot of cost for a startup goes into operations. So like paying yourself and whatnot, right? So I think that kind of money is helping you sustain yourself early on. And, looking for 150K, that's more from like angel investors and whatnot. But, giving an opportunity for friends and family to get involved early on, like you can $1,000, 2,000 from a bunch of people adds up.
I like that. I think Miles wants to say something. Like he's trying. What do you want to say? He's enjoying his time at Antler as well. He's been here almost every day. So is that what you're trying to say? But yeah, I mean, that's an awesome program so far. I love it. I wish we could have, I guess, more time with those one-on-one chats with the team. But other than that, it's an amazing program. So I love it. Can you tell us more? So are you profitable with your business or? Okay, that's good. That's good. So what are you like? What do you need money for? Like, what are you trying to do?
So usually when you raise, it's always important to know what you're going to spend on. And the reason why we want to raise is because we can, one, bring the team full time. So I'm the only full-time member of my company right now. Everybody else has a full-time job and works on this part-time. So that's another reason is like, okay, well, if we can get some capital to put everybody on a salary for a year, there's probably the amount of acceleration that we can have as a company will probably 10x what we can versus everybody still doing what they're doing today. So that's like one reason on raising. The other is like being able to reach more markets and figure out like how to like go talk to more people, right? So like I don't live here in New York City, but being able to be here for like a weekend that the company can pay for the business would help a lot in terms of talking to people and trying to like, get more customers and whatnot. But yeah, so I think always have the intention of what you want to spend your money on before you go looking for money.
Yeah, makes sense. We decided to pivot with our idea, so it's kind of like it's a great idea, but it also feels like now we have to redo everything, right? Like the deck and yeah, that's what makes it fun in the founder's journey. So how do you cope? Like, do you get because for the past week when I was getting feedback and like working on that, and since I'm kind of like back to the idea stage. Right. So I'm getting this imposter syndrome of like everyone is so successful around you, an office full of awesome people. That's what like how do you work with that?
I kind of look internally. So what my big thing is like, okay, I know what I'm working on and what conflicts I have. Everybody else has problems. No one's perfect. We're human. And the big thing is like everybody is going through some struggle. Like even though they show and talk like, hey, we're making money, we're talking to customers, there's something wrong. Like there's always something wrong that people just don't talk about. So that's how I think about it. I'm like, okay, like if I'm externally focusing for judgment or looking at other people and judging them, am I really solving my own problems or am I just like, soaking in like other people's judgment of like what they might perceive, right? And it kind of goes back into like anxiety and like being mindful of what your state is and whatnot. It's like if you can focus on just what your problems are, I think it would be easier for you to like, and this is how I do it. I focus on my own problems. It's easier for me to like then ignore everybody else and what they're thinking and makes me like become into solution mode. I'm like, okay, I have these problems. This is how I can solve these problems.
I like that. I also got sick, and maybe because of like all the stress as well, not only whatever is in the air. But I was thinking about it today, and like, how can I make it easier for myself? And I thought that a routine actually helps me. Like having something established, like for your brain, whatever is new, it's kind of like hard to digest and implement and work on, so it's stress. And if you have a routine, it's something that your brain is looking forward to, and it knows that it's going to happen no matter what. So I guess that's what I decided to focus on, just so, you know, I meditate every morning, for example, or like I go to the gym every evening, just so the brain knows.
Yeah. I think one other thing to remember too is like, you might be in like a shitty situation right now, but somebody else probably wants to be in your situation. So it's like, be very humble of what your journey's like, because everybody's different, and one bad day for you might be like the best day for somebody else out there too. So routines are great too for that, because you get to be in like a pace and of life, right, for whatnot. But yeah, like, everybody's going through something.
I love this approach, and it's from one. There is a book about it. I forgot the name of it, but basically, someone was saying that they even go to like poor areas to see how people live, just so they can appreciate whatever they have. We'll post the link to whatever you share, right? Like to your LinkedIn probably, and to, if there's a demo or whatever people can use, that would be very cool to share in the description. But is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah. Don't think I want to talk about AI, because that'd be super extensive, but I'm always open to like talking about AI or startup life or whatever it might be. Yeah, like, if you have an idea, take the risk and just go do it, because if you don't, somebody else is going to do it.
Thank you again, Syed, for recording this quick video. But yeah, yeah, I feel like someone needs to see it. All the time you post something, someone out there needs to see it at this exact moment. So it's awesome. Well, thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.